who better to have as our special guest? Jeff, he's a friend of Amy's, a friend of mine. Jeff Crilley, he has a thriving and striving PR company. I mean, this thing is fantastic. He works with a lot of different clients. We book them as guests on our show all the time. In fact, this week we'll have Samira. We've had a ton of guests. Jeff Crilley is with us today to talk about the Brian Williams deal. And welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thank you, Rodney, Amy. It's an honor to be on your show. You guys, it's like you're being in your living room, listening to a great conversation.
Wonderful. Jeff, bring me some tea. Okay, Jeff, you're the perfect person to comment on this story, not only from your extensive career in news journalism and the manipulations you've seen firsthand in the newsroom, but also from a PR standpoint and how this was handled. What's your take on the announcement he will now be suspended for 6 months? Brian Williams we're talking about.
I'm going to make a prediction. I think he does not come back. I mean, I watched this debacle, and I'm going to call it a dumb lie. I mean, it was just a really dumb lie. The American public did not need to know that Brian Williams was shot at. He was in a convoy that was shot at. But it was a dumb lie, and as you guys have already pointed out, it's going to cost him, somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 million. But if you really think about what his brand is supposed to be credibility. And I'm sorry, 6 months from now, people are still going to remember this scandal. And I think even if NBC tries to put him back on that anchor desk, he's going to be the butt of jokes on Letterman. The social media had a field day with this over the weekend. I don't know if you guys saw some of this. They're airbrushing Brian Williams' face into the grassy knoll scene. I mean, when you become the butt of jokes on Leno and Letterman, it's over, right?
He's opened himself up to that. My gosh, it's so unnecessary.
Right.
Yeah, and speaking of that, with Brian Williams, yes, he may not. Now he may be the new nighttime comedy guy because everybody seems to be leaving. I know. Jon Stewart announced yesterday.
Yeah, Jon Stewart leaving. And one of my, Jeff, do you watch Jon Stewart at all, or have you?
I do.
Do you remember when he had Brian Williams on? And
I do.
Their chemistry, and they were so funny together. I mean, Brian Williams is a funny guy. So that's funny that Rodney said that, because I could totally picture him sitting down. But you know what? Jon Stewart is a credible person, and I think that you're right. He's lost credibility, Brian Williams has. So I don't even know if he could do satirical news.
I think that Brian Williams needs to show up and spoof himself on Saturday Night Live on Saturday. That's
Do you really? Oh, my God.
Or maybe at least from 6 months from now when he doesn't come back. But I'd like to see it anyway.
What do you think he needs to do now, Jeff?
To be honest, I think he's going to wait out his 6 months and pray that NBC takes him back. My prediction is that Lester Holt will be filling in, and the ratings will return to where they were before the scandal, and NBC will make the decision not to bring him back. But for Brian Williams, I mean, if he called me for PR advice, I would say, see what happens at the 6 month mark. Go on some kind of apology tour. He really needs to fall on the sword and have a confession like no other confession, and just plead for forgiveness from the American people. But as we've already discussed, I don't think that the brand of credibility that is supposed to be the evening newscast can align itself with Brian Williams. So, if Brian Williams probably has a best-selling book in front of him. He probably has a speaking tour. He could show up on a comedy network like you guys were suggesting, but I don't think he comes back to NBC.
I don't think so either, Jeff. Don't you think that decision has already been made? Whether he's coming back or not, it's already made.
Yeah, the other thing, though, Jeff, is NBC. They've already been always been struggling in ratings. They're normally number 3. How big a scar does this put on them?
Well, the truth is, with this particular newscast, the evening news, the nightly news, they've been number 1 with Brian Williams.
Really?
So they've got this rock star journalists that they've run endless commercials talking about trust, credibility, And now that brand that you invested in is not known for trust at all. In fact, I think the American people have serious concerns about what he's been telling us all these years. And I pulled up a Gallup survey. They started doing surveys on how much do you trust what you see on the news. And in 1993, when they first started doing this, 46% of Americans said they had a great deal of trust in what they see on the news. When they did this poll again last year, it was down to 18% have a lot of faith in news. So you can see that the evening newscasts are in this kind of downward spiral of credibility. And when you have a scandal like this, I think you really need to kick the person to the curb. If you'll remember, about a decade ago, there was a guy writing for the New York Times. His name was Jason Blair, and they caught him making up quotes. And here you have one of the most respected newspapers in the country with a credibility crisis, similar to what NBC is facing. And they kicked him to the curb. They sent a loud, clear message throughout their ranks that we're going to be randomly fact-checking your articles, because this cannot happen here. And when I tell that story to people, people can barely remember that scandal, because I feel like the New York Times dealt with it so quickly and so swiftly, and their brand has completely recovered.
Yeah, it is amazing what happens here. Jeff, a lot of people are using you for your PR business is absolutely fantastic. I mean, Amy and I, your rundown every single day, if people aren't out there in the media and they're not booking your guest on there, they're crazy, because Amy and I both read through your rundown every single day. Mm-hmm. We book guests off of it, and your information that you provide to people is fantastic. But I mean, your business of PR, so if companies, if individuals are looking for somebody in the PR business, I mean, I would highly recommend that they talk to you for television, for radio, for all the different areas out there. Where can everybody find you, Jeff?
Our website is www.realnewspr.com, just like it sounds, realnewspr.com. And thank you so much, guys. It's a pleasure being on your show. You guys I think you guys, if you're not already on the top of the ratings, you need to be, because this is, I think, the fastest hour in radio in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Well, I just need to start fabricating some tragedies and some lies, and we'll be on the top of the leaderboard.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff,
thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
You bet.